Greetings, African family. Greetings. Welcome to Clear Thinking with Brother Dulani. This week, I want to touch on a particular topic. Again, I was going through social media and I came across this topic where there was a very good discussion on African sisters, black women, wearing false hair, wigs, and all kind of things. And we even touched on the bleaching and what is causing this phenomenon amongst our people. And I listened to various opinion on the subject of women wearing all this falseness. One sister was saying, wearing wigs and wearing, all these false stuff, and it did not have any impact. It's not hurting anybody, and it is not a big issue for us to be discussing. That we should be talking about, some of the most serious issues facing our community, and we should not be discussing these things. It's not as big as we are looking at it. And because I was observing the discussion before I entered the discussion, and there was some good argument put forward on the discussion, both against and for. Sisters express themselves however they want to, but there is an issue, my people, that we have to face. There is an issue, and that the issue is that too many African women are wearing other people's hair. Too many. Too many of our people are bleaching. And now there is a new phenomenon where we got a lot of our people altering their bodies. They're altering their tummies, their rear end. They're just trying to sculpt their body into this perfect symmetry. So, I thought it was a good enough discussion for me to enter, and I did enter the discussion. And basically, my analysis was based around the overall history of our people. How did we come into this psychological state where we feel the need to look a certain way? Where did that concept come from? Because surely in Africa, we weren't feeling the need to wear these long straight hair, these Asiatic hair, European hairs, Spanish people here. There was not propensity prior to our enslavement and our colonization. So therefore, we must look at this and look at it within the context. What happened to our people during this time? The trauma, the pressure, the physical pressure, which is the brutality, the beatings, the whippings on the plantation. And then we move on to the psychological part of our torture and the torment that we experience, and that was passed down through generation. And some of that psychology is there was a glorification of whiteness. Whiteness became the standard of beauty, of virtues. Everything white became associated with loving, decency, righteousness. All of that was cloaked in the falseness of whiteness. And there was a demonization of blackness and Africanness. And as you know, many of our people lost a significant portion of our connection to our history, a connection to our identity, a connection to our ancestry, and that created a void over time. We tried to replace that void with religion, so we started to formulate our view of the world through the Abrahamic teaching, which teaches about, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and Adam and Eve, and Satan and God and Jesus. And all these things came to us by way of Christianity. and some by way of Islam and Judaism. So that formed one. And one thing we got in that as well is where whiteness, the idea of white domination or white supremacy, came wrapped in that religion. And it also created this idea that God is angels. All those white imagery was all associated. They were wrapped together. So it's not hard to associate whiteness with godness and goodness. So that psychology played a role in the shaping of our thinking about ourselves and also the world. And in that same process, there was a demonization of our people, where Africans were talked about in the most demonic, the most brutal, the most dark way. And no one wanted to be associated with that. And if we were to just speed up the process and come up to time where we get into mass media, where we get into movie making, in Hollywood stepped on the scene, television was invented, radio was invented before that, and the image and the magazine imageries that started to develop around the turn of the century, which was around the 1900s, 1920s and 30s, you start to notice that the imagery that was formed around the mass media was white women were the standard of beauty. They painted white women as the epitome of beauty. And when our African sisters started to look at these imagery, they started to internalize a lot of this. Some of our women idolized these imagery that they saw in the media. Because remember, our Africanness were demonized, and many didn't want to be affiliated, associated with our Africanness. So that became an alternative option, and many chose to go down that road. And then as you speed up to in the 70s and 80s, with all these soap opera came on TV, with Days of Our Lives, As the World Turned, and on, it was all these young white women and white men. So a lot of these things had a deep influence on our people. And when you look at Hollywood movies and the stars always coming back to this great white savior complex with Tarzan saving the world. And, you know, it always have these white men who are saving the world, and the white woman who is the object of their desire. You know, at the end of the movie, you get this beautiful, so-called beautiful white woman, and she became the standard. And naturally, many of our African sisters bought into this. And when I say African, I'm talking about African in the diaspora and on the continent. They bought into this imagery. And as a result, many began to bleach their skin to look light. Many started to talk about toning down their skin, talking about using all kind of terminologies to soften this what has happened to our psychology. And then, you know, most of them wanted the straight hair. And if you look at when black people started going on television, a lot of the early actors them and actors them and even the newscasters them, they wore their hair with this long, we call it straight hair that hang down, looked just like a European, but it was black. They kept it black and then they hung it. So to give them that look, that aesthetic. You know what I'm saying? And it was picked up by many in our culture. Across the board in America, in the Caribbean, in Africa, a lot of them, that was the standard. And even recently, if you look at the news program them in Africa, across the continent, a lot of the news broadcasters, the women them on there are outright bleaching. The women them, they're very light skinned from that's artificially created. They're not like that. You cannot tell me that across the board in Nigeria, all those newscasters are brown people. In a country of 250 million Africans. It just doesn't make sense. So you can see that, and it's actively promoted. And if you look at the billboard advertisement, you can see it. There's a lightening of the imageries across the board. And a lot of that contribute to that psychology where we look at whiteness as the standard of beauty, and it affects our sisters. And the discussion continues because now we look into it and we're saying to ourselves, what other part of our lives is governed by this type of thinking? And when we look across the board, we see that, even though right now you got men in Jamaica and in Africa are bleaching as well. Black man trying to look light. And we fall into this colorism argument where we look at the lighter skin as somehow better than the darker skin, which we should reject. We're all Homo sapiens sapiens. We all could have the same brain, same capacity. Whether we are light skin or dark skin, whether we got big nose or small nose, whether we got blue eye or green eye, whether we got blonde hair or black hair, we have the same capacity. We have all the genetic makeup of geniuses across the board. So it is a complete falsehood to try to equate a lighter skin with right, a lighter skin with more decent, a lighter skin with more beauty. It is a false concept, and it's a false propaganda that's pushed on African people and the demonization of African people. And I tell you what, we have to take responsibility for the imagery that we're putting out. I particularly have an issue with the imagery coming out of Nigeria. They have a movie industry called Nollywood. And the vast majority of the movies that's been put out in this industry is demonizing our very African culture. Our own culture has been demonized, always playing this role where the demons are the witchcraft and the voodoo and the darkness, and the woman is a particular way and the man is a particular way, and always demonizing the African woman, always demonizing the African culture, the African tradition, and they do it across the board. And they sell it to the world. And people may be picking up on that nuances, and we are contributing to that, and it's something that we have to stop doing. Also, when we make movies in the West, it's always movies about gangsters killing each other, black youth, African youth just killing each other from New York to Los Angeles to Kingston, Jamaica, to London, wherever we are. These movies that we produce and we create and we write, it's always depicting, the most of them are depicting us killing each other, creating a negative image of black people. And we always project the black man as some kind of evil, demonic being that we're willing to kill his brothers and sisters. We need to stop that. As a people, we have to take responsibility for these madness that we have to perpetuate. And it is started, is rooted in our enslavement, is rooted in our colonization. But psychologically, we have to break free. We have to break free from this madness. It's not helping us, none at all. We have to break free from it. You know, see it. So when we look in the context of this old transformation of the body, you know, the stuff that's going on nowadays with trying to create artificial bodies and body parts and bleaching one's skin and, you know, altering one hair. I mean, man and woman doing it now, because some of the man, them, you can't tell them different from the woman. They're going to hairdressers, spending 2 hours in the bloody hairdresser chair. That was unheard of when I was coming up. You go, a barber man go, a woman go to get her hair, whatever, sort out. And I witnessed it growing up as a youth, where our African mothers and aunties and family members, they were using hot iron to burn their hair. You could smell it burning. They put the hot iron in the coal and rub it through their hair to straighten it. You know? And it was all across the board. Everybody was doing it. Why? And then the man them get the chemical to try to jerry the hair and soften the hair, and so you can get the waves in the hair and the curls and all that stuff. And that smell, you know that smell from that curl, woo, that spray S-curls. The man them got involved in this. But at the time, we was unconscious. We never know what going. The only element of consciousness was Rastas preach, Africa. You know, see it. Africa, here we come. Look to Africa for your salvation. And the Rasta grow them locks natural. You know, see it. So that helped to balance us out. It pulls some of us out. But the what you call the mainstream, they gone. Only the few, not the little small stream them. The river and the big, and what you call them now, the river and the sea, they gone away. We only not this little small stream them. You know, see it. And I was fortunate enough to get pulled into the stream about Africa. That saved me from the same madness that was taking place amongst our people. I was pulled into the realm of the liberation struggle of our people, particularly in the anti-apartheid era. Prior to that, I was caught in it too. My mind had gone. I wasn't even thinking about Africa. I'm thinking about my ancestry. I'm thinking about what my great-grandparents them go through and the whip and the lash that they've been through. And when I saw Roots, that was it. It was over for me. No more playing no game. Life gets serious for me now. So the movie can also transform you and it can also break you. The movie Roots was one of those movies that had transformation in African people. You know, see it. And it transformed my thinking and my view of the world. I never knew that these Europeans could be so cruel to African people. You know, see, because we have always seen whiteness as some kind of niceness. But we realize whiteness is just a disguise for wickedness. You know, see it. And now we are trying to come out of it. But, you know, and no disrespect to our sisters, but we have to face the reality. You know, see, your blackness is your beauty. Black is beautiful. African people is beautiful and wonderful. It is glorious and wonderful to be African. It's a joy to be an African, knowing what we have been through as a people and knowing that the struggle and the sacrifice that our ancestors made for us to be alive today. We have to honor them. Our children should look like us, should look like our mother and our grandparents them. And they should be proud of it. Whether you have your big nose and your big lips and your whatever, and you know we have all kind of shades amongst us now. We are mixed up, we are admixture of people. And the enslavers also, them take disadvantage of our people, them take advantage of the man and the woman sexually upon the plantation. And they are able to implant their genetics amongst our people. And some of us carry some of their DNA. You know, see it, and it alter our complexion. You know, see, unfortunately. And we just have to live with it and know, say, boy, this is a part of the manganese. You know, see it. But every family that in a Jamaica, for instance, have our people upon the plantation, you know, see it, have to endure so much. And in this modern time now, we still have to go through it. You know? We have to make our ancestors them proud of us to know that we have overcome it. When you look on in a society, every family that I know have a light side and a dark side and all spectrum of shade of color between us. You know, see it. But there is colorism. We're not going to deny that. Many people treat the lighter skinned child better than they treat the darker skinned child. And they would put the lighter skinned woman them in the job them, in the big job them across the island, in Jamaica and many other places. You know, see it. We have seen that. You go to all of the big banks them and you go to all of the big institutions, you see light skin. But that has changed now too, you know. Because more and more you're seeing it becoming more and more chocolatey, more and more darker. You know, see, as we begin to lift up out of this madness of whiteness. Because our whiteness created all of this, you know. And that is the big point we must keep in mind. We can't succumb to this. We are human beings. We are African people. We have to love everyone. We are not responsible for how we look today. But we're responsible for how we treat each other. We came into this world and we have a responsibility. Many of us don't get to know our responsibility, that we know our historical duty, that we are a part of redevelopment, a part of liberation. And if we're fortunate to go to school and get good Africation, good education in engineering, in science, in technology that can be used to develop our people, in medicine, we need to use it to serve our people. That's why I always go back to the message of repairing the damage. We have to keep repairing, keep becoming better people. Every day we work towards becoming better and better. You know, see it? And we have to reject this notion that a light-skinned sister is better than a dark-skinned sister. Or a dark-skinned brother is better than a light-skinned brother. We are all equal. We're all equal. You know, see it? And we all have our preference. You know, see it? And we have to know that. We have to know, so love, do this thing here. We have to love ourselves as a people. We have to teach our children to respect the whole spectrum amongst our people. And we have to let them know what happened to us and how did we get so diverse in our complexion. And how did we get into this mental state where we have to wear false. I have children and I have to tell them. You know, see it? I have a daughter and I have to tell her. You know, see it? We don't need to do that. You have your natural, beautiful hair. Don't go destroy it. You know, see it? Don't go destroying what you have, what you brought into this world with. You know, see it? That's how you came here. Be proud of what you have. Because some people would love to have what you have. Some people that love to have your dark skin. Some people that love to have your whatever you have. You know, see it? And we have to be grateful that we are all alive, because we are not supposed to be here. We're not supposed to make it. We're supposed to be wiped out based on the trauma that we've been through, based on what our ancestors had to endure. But they had one mission, and that mission was just to survive. If they survive, we could make it here today in 2024. And they did that. They got the memo. They got the mission right. They survived. They endure at all costs. So it is our responsibility to maintain them, maintain their memory, and don't dishonor them by trying to be like other people, especially trying to be like our oppressor. And remember, my people, this same perspective, you know, the same argument also apply to this holding on to these names, these European enslavers' name. We're trying to be like them. We're trying to honor them and uphold them. When you name your children after them, and I've been guilty of it because I have their name too, but I changed my name. My name is Dulani Masibu Wadumisai. That is my African name. And I want to pass it on to my children them. You know, see it? We must break this affinity, this false allegiance to these enslavers' name. If we're going to tell the African women they need to get rid of these enslavers here and stop the bleaching, we need to stop carrying these names of these enslavers and passing them on to our children. People used to grape our ancestors. We used to whip and torture and torment our ancestors. We turn around and name our children after them and be proud to be Johnson, be Thomases and Smith and all these multitude of European names that we have and is so proud of. We need to wake up and get rid of them things, man. We need to have some self-respect, some self-discipline, you know what I mean? And love yourself enough to know that them people are the wicked. We can't name with people. We can't name with people after these kind of people. We're honoring them when you do that. Imagine your innocent, beautiful baby you bring into this world and you name him after murderers and torturers. You know, see, we used to whip and beat your ancestors who made it possible for you to be here. That's a disrespect. We have to just know that. You know, see it. We can't name a town. We can't name a road. We can't name a significant building, with school, with hospital after these people. And any building we name after these people, any road, anywhere, we need to change the name. That's one of the things we have to push the colonial government them to do. Change the name. We can't be honoring these wicked people amongst our people and make our children believe that these are great men. We must honor those who resist those people, honor those who resist the British Empire, honor those who resist the enslavers. You know, see it. And honor those who take down the enslavers them in battle. That's who we honor. And honor those who help to feed us and build us, you know, along the way. That is what we have to do. That is the mandate. Because we need reparative justice. We have to repair the damage. And one of the damages, the neo-colonial damages to our mind and in our school system, the imagery that they promote. We have to change that. We need to Africanize our school system to correct this psychological imbalance where we see whiteness as better than everything else. We attribute greatness to whiteness, you know. Science to whiteness, you know. Scholarship to whiteness, you know. You know, anything to do with advancement and higher engineering, we attribute it to whiteness. We need to stop that. Because we were the first scientists, we were the first engineer in history, was out of Africa. We need to understand that. When it comes to building civilization, when it comes to medicine, when it comes to arts, when it comes to architecture, the African them were the giants in history. You know, see, the pioneers. So we can't now come turn over science to Europeans and say they are the greatest. No, every man will be just on the merit of their work. You know what I'm saying? If you've done great things, yes, we give you greatness for that. We give you credit for that. You know, see it? But it's not based on your whiteness. It'll be based on your work, how provable your work is, how accurate your work is, how effective your work and your method and your technology is. And that's why we have to teach our children that they can be great. We can create great things too. And we have to fight against this notion of whiteness, because that is the root of this hair thing, this false hair wearing, all this stuff you see going on with the straight hair, the blonde hair, the bleaching and all that. It's all rooted in whiteness. It's the root of it. And the only cure for that is Africanization for us and the abolition of whiteness. We have to abolish whiteness, you know. Make no mistake about it. Amongst our people and amongst our society, we have to get rid of that. Whiteness have to die in order for Africanness to live. Remember that. So yes, my people, thank you for listening to me, and I hope I make sense to you. Do leave a comment, do like, and do share this broadcast. This has been episode 37 with Brother Dulani. Thank you very much for listening to this program. Unk and Mahat unto you, my people. Ashe, Hotep, Wa good, my people. My respect and honor every time. Look forward to more clear thinking with Brother Dulani.